How's everybody doing? Welcome to Quincy Carrier Live. Let me make sure everything is working properly. We've had some technical difficulties to start out the last couple of shows, but it seems like we are all good to go here on this front. Um, I hope this to be a fun episode of Quincy Carrier Live. What we're going to do is talk about some of the off-season plans, what the Browns could have going forward to try to answer some of the problems that they have actively going on here in about a month's time when the league new year starts, and how that's potentially going to affect the Browns when it comes to the draft. So when you look at the Browns' problems, right, when Andrew Berry sits down at his desk and he has his to-do list, when Kevin Stefanski opens his iPad and he has his to-do list, when anybody who's in charge of the Cleveland Browns looks at the Cleveland Browns for 2025, you have two pressing questions over the top of your head that are looming. First question is, how are you going to keep Myles Garrett on your football team? He wants out. He seems pretty adamant about wanting out. You seem pretty adamant about not letting him go. So what is the solution going to be there? The second question is, what are you going to do to improve the quarterback situation? It's a very serious question the Browns have to figure out, right? Now, there is short-term improvement. There is long-term improvement. You have to view your options out and see what you have available to you right now. All of these things are important going forward for the Cleveland Browns to make sure that they are where they need to be. But one of the things that they have to figure out is quarterback. Who is going to play quarterback this season? It's the first time since 2018 that the Browns will not have a clear answer on that question of who's playing quarterback. Think about it. Going back since 2018, we've known who the starter is going to be. If it was Baker Mayfield, if it was Deshaun Watson, or because Deshaun got suspended, Jacoby Brissett. It's been one of those three guys. That's who the starter has been week one for the Cleveland Browns for like the last half a decade. Now we're entering a period where we don't know who the starter is going to be. I have no clue. Couldn't tell you who the week one starter is going to be. I know that it's probably not going to be anybody who started games for the Cleveland Browns last year. Some people talk about Jameis Winston potentially being an option to start next year for the Cleveland Browns at quarterback. I don't really think that's much of an option there. I don't think the Browns would be interested in Jameis Winston as an option there or solution at the quarterback position going forward, right? So what is the Browns plan going to be? Is it going to be Kirk Cousins? It's going to be something worse than that? Or are they going to not try to compete this year to try to maximize the draft position next year? What's the plan there, right? How can the Browns go about improving in the offseason? I think that's very simple, right? They're going to have some cap space available to them when they do some restructures. They're going to have some avenues to improve this team going forward. I think you want to get yourself a tackle in free agency. You want to get yourself a center in free agency. And then you want to figure out quarterback before the draft. You at least want to be at a place with quarterback where you feel like you got your week one starter. Now, will that week one starter finish the season for you? It's a whole different question. But I think you at least want to be at a place where you have a week one starter if you're the Cleveland Browns by the end of March. You don't want to enter the draft with no week one starter, right? Even if you do plan on drafting a quarterback, which I don't think they will, but even if you do plan on drafting a quarterback, you're going to want to make sure you have more of a plan than that, right? So you're going to want a week one starter who are you going to go out there and get. There's a number of names that you can go out there and get, right? You can get Matt Stafford, maybe if that's like a long shot, but if it does work out, has the highest upside. You can get somebody like Kirk Cousins. You can get somebody like Kyle Trask. You can go out and get Justin Fields. The options, I mean, Sam Darnold's also an option as well. The options are so wide. And so they have so much variance that you could basically suggest to anybody and feel like you're right about that, right? It is not a great year, in my opinion, to be looking for a long-term answer at quarterback. I think everybody's in agreement on that, especially in the draft or in free agency. I do think this is a decent year to have short-term quarterback on your needs list because, Aaron Rodgers could be a decent short-term option. Russell Wilson could be a decent short-term option. Kirk Cousins can be a decent short-term option. I think this free agent class or free agent / trade class could be interesting because I do think there are some short-term options there at quarterback. I wonder what's it going to end up doing to the draft market. That's going to be a big question. But I do think it's possible that you could find a short-term upgrade at the quarterback position that will leave you better off than where you started, at least last year. And it's not going to be hard for the Browns to upgrade from where they started. So that gets me into the mock draft scenario for this week. Now, as we know, the combine is coming up fast. Draft season is approaching us fast. Before we know it, we'll close our eyes and we'll be there at the draft, right? It'll be May. Well, it'll be April, and it'll be time to select one of these players we've been talking about for so long. What I want to do with this mock draft is hopefully by using a different simulator, I get some different options to become available in some different rounds, right? Because I do think it's important, even if you want Abdul Carter at 2, to entertain a world where Abdul Carter might get taken number 1 overall by the mock draft sim, right? You do want to entertain in these mock draft scenarios, situations where, these different machines value different players differently. So we're going to jump into that scenario. We're going to jump into the mock draft. I could get the mock draft put on screen here. That would be awesome. All right. So the first things first, goodness gracious, some of these ads that pop up. Okay. So first things first, when it comes to the mock drafts is first things first, right? These things are going to flip all the time in this process. I have already seen it where there was a frenzy right after East-West Shrine game. You guys remember that? There was a frenzy because Shador said the Browns talked to him and he shut down all of his drills. And that made everybody go, oh my God, Quincy, they're drafting Shador Sanders. It's over. It's over. Throw Abdul Carter out the window. The Browns are drafting Shador Sanders. And then like a clip comes out where he doesn't look excited about the idea of coming to Cleveland. Oh no, he's not coming. He's not coming. Right? We are going to fluctuate back and forth so violently about the draft, about these players, about where they're going to go. Right now, Abdul Carter is the most mocked player to the Cleveland Browns. If you look at mock draft database, if we look at the number 1 overall pick, the most mocked player to the Tennessee Titans is Cam Ward. So the people who are making mock drafts in the mock draft community feel like Cam Ward is a pretty much not close to lock because it's only 50%, but usually pick Cam Ward. Browns mock draft people usually pick Abdul Carter, or at least select him more often than not. After those 2 picks, this whole thing becomes a crapshoot, right? Shador Sanders, 40%, New York, and then Will Campbell, 33%, Mason Graham, 37%, Ashton Genty, 23%. Basically, this draft can fluctuate and look very different in the top 10 and will look very different in the top 10 than what most people assume. This leaves a lot of room for trading back and trading up. This is going to be a weird draft this year, I think so. But that is where the board is. Let's jump into the simulator. Now, we're going to do 2025 draft. We're going to do 7 rounds. And we're going to do this on, let's do this on normal mode. We'll take our time with this one. So we know that usually in these sims, Tennessee goes ahead. They take Cam Ward. Now, Tennessee takes Cam Ward. The Browns' life is pretty easy. If you get any calls for a trade, you entertain them. But if you do not get any calls for a trade that you find to be interesting, then, well, you just take Abdul Carter, right? Now, on the board here, Travis Hunter could make some sense. Some people would argue Shedeur Sanders makes sense here. Mason Graham makes sense here, right? The reason I would go Abdul Carter over these 5 players is simple. One, I think Abdul Carter has the potential to be one of the best edges in his not just class, but also in his era of player, right? So I think if we're talking about in 10 years, best edge rushers in the NFL, Abdul Carter could possibly be a part of that conversation. Now, again, just because I like a prospect does not guarantee that prospect's success. I'm not saying that just because I like this prospect, it guarantees that prospect's success. But what I am saying is that I like my chances with this player. Travis Hunter is the only other player that I think competes with Abdul Carter on a level of prospect front, right? Because I do think Travis Hunter is as special as a corner prospect and looks like he's going to go into the combine as a corner. So no real confusion about what his true NFL position is seen as amongst him and the league. But Travis Hunter is as special as a corner prospect as Abdul is. The difference is I like Abdul better, right? I like that Abdul played through injury. Travis Hunter did not really play through a ton of injury throughout his college career. Was seen as kind of fragile at times, right? Like if he got anything, he's going to miss a game. I'd rather take the guy who's willing to play with one shoulder in the Orange Bowl and kick ass while he's doing it. I like the position that Abdul Carter plays for the Cleveland Browns better than I like it for Travis Hunter. All those things make me want to lean towards Abdul. Does he have his concerns? Yeah. He's a little underweight, potentially. I don't know what he's going to weigh in at, but he doesn't look super heavy on tape. Probably going to weigh in somewhere under 255, maybe around the 245 range, which would be a little bit more concerning. But weight you can add on to a player. But the bend, the explosiveness, the hands, the ability to learn and adapt, the fact that he got this good at edge rusher in the Big Ten versus some of the best, like went up against some of the best competition in college football, came out of it looking great. Abdul Carter is as solid as an edge prospect as you can get here. So if you got to take him at 2, you take him at 2 gladly. So I'm going to take Abdul Carter here too. Now, in this scenario, Travis Hunter slid almost out the top 10, which I find a bit surprising. We're going to sit here, and it looks like Connerly might be there for me. All right, so Connerly, left tackle prospect out of Oregon. I would be very happy if he's there because I do see him as a long-term answer at the left tackle position. Now, do I think Josh Connerly would be one of the best left tackles in the NFL? No. But do I think Josh Connerly can have a nice, long, very solid career as a professional left tackle in football? I absolutely do believe that. So that would be somebody who's intriguing to me. There's a positional fit. I think the value at 33 matches up. But there are some other players here that you would want to look at. Jahad Campbell. A lot of people really high on him. Playmaking linebacker out of Alabama. You can call him the heart of Alabama's defense. One of these Swiss Army knife prospects who can really do anything. Dominant player. I don't blame anybody for looking at that and saying, hey, man, you got to consider Jahad Campbell. Derek Harmon. I'm not as big of a fan of him as others. Tyleik Williams, somebody you will want to consider here, right? Let's look at it positionally. Because you got Elik Ayamaner, who I have a first-round grade on. I would have to consider him at 33, especially for a team that needs a wide receiver. Now, with the Browns, I do think it's interesting when we talk about wide receiver. The Browns do need a wide receiver, but they don't need another number 2 wide receiver, right? They already have Cedric Tillman, who I think is going to be serviceable for them going forward, and Jerry Jeudy, who looks to be very serviceable for the Browns. What they need is a no doubt super talented number one receiver. I just don't think that guy's in this class. I think you wait to go get that, or you take a chance on somebody like a Jaden Higgins later in the draft. Interior offensive line, Donovan Jackson, Membu, all these guys are interesting here. Seems like Gray went in the first round. Linebacker, we just talked about Jahad Campbell. Quarterback wise, there would be nothing here that would be interesting to me. Tight ends, Harold Fanan Jr., Elijah Arroyo, Gunnar Helm, Terrence Ferguson, all these guys, very interesting. D-line, we talked about these guys. Deion Walker, another guy who you would be interested in taking this early. Jahdae Barron is there, who would be somebody you would consider. Running back wise, you got Amarion Hampton, Travion Henderson, Quinshawn Junkins, Caleb Johnson, just the bevy of running backs here. Tackles, there's Josh Connerly. You feel a little iffy about Connor Williams. And then we're all the way down to like Anthony Belton and Emory Jones. So I don't think there's a lot after the first tackle available right now. Edge, similar story. Plus, you just took an edge, #1 overall. I'm going to do what I feel like is going to build the best team possible, right? We talk about doing what Philadelphia did. Well, a way to do what Philadelphia did is to try to build the best team possible. What did the Kansas City Chiefs fail to do? Despite the fact that they had a all-pro quarterback in Pat Mahomes, well, they didn't draft the right tackle, right? They took Kingsley Sumatia, who was a project. I thought that Roger Rosengarten was a better tackle and a better candidate to transition to left tackle. We don't know if he could play left tackle, but we do know he could play right tackle. I want to go tackle here. I go Josh Connerly because I think having him getting younger at the offensive line right now, all of a sudden my core, once I lose one of the two guards, whether it be Wyatt Teller or potentially Joe Bitonio to retirement, I have Zach Zinter, who you took in the 3rd round last year, who you believe in. You have DeJuan Jones, who you believe in. And then you have a left tackle you believe in Josh Connerly. All of a sudden, you got 3 young guys on that offensive line that you believe in. You can get a new center in free agency. The center from the Atlanta Falcons is 26, so young player there. And then if Wyatt Teller's the OG that has to hold it down, then you're doing pretty good there. So all of a sudden, this one move here, this one draft pick at tackle makes it so that you're not that far away from replenishing an offensive line, a project that felt like it could take decades 2 months ago. But you get Josh Connerly here at 33, all of a sudden starts to clear up a little bit. So you get Josh Connerly. You feel pretty good about that. Now we're going to start to target running back because you do need to target running back. I'm in favor of bringing back Nick Chubb, but just because I want to bring back Nick Chubb does not mean that I don't want to address the running back position. Now we're starting to get trade offers. The 49ers want to give me a bunch of stuff that I don't want in order to swap up for this pick. The Steelers want to give me a bunch of stuff for next year. The Ravens, no. Now, this is a package I'm willing to entertain, right? They want to move back one spot. I get to pick up 3 extra picks. I see a bunch of players on the board still that I like. All right. Yeah, I think I'm going to accept this trade. I think that it makes sense to accept this trade. So we're going to go ahead and push this trade through. Because what I do want to accomplish in this draft, they want to give me a 2nd round pick next year. In real life, I would take this trade. I'm not going to take it for the purposes of entertainment, but they offered me, if the Texans were stupid enough to offer me a 2nd round pick for like 68, yeah, I would take it. I would absolutely take it. But not going to take it here just for the fact that we are trying to have some entertainment value in this. All right, so let's look at the board again. Wide receiver, Jack Beck is there, who I like. Wouldn't mind him, but he's kind of that mode of wide receiver that the Browns have an abundance of, right? These 5'11" to 6'1" route runners. The Browns have an abundance of these guys. We need guys who can play big, right? So I don't know if I'm in love with that idea. The one wide receiver I did have targeted, he's gone, right? Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, he's gone. Interior offensive line, Mbu, who I think could play center, will be fun here. This all going to be determined on whether you get the center you want in free agency. You can make somebody like Mbu play center. Linebacker is really nothing moving me there. Quarterback, a little early for that. Tight end, Harold Fainin. I mean, pick 68, Harold Fainin's there. I got to consider it. But look who else is on the board at the tight end position. This is why what happens around your board matters, right? So Harold Fainin's there. I like Harold Fainin. I'd be thrilled if Harold Fainin was there at 68. But I also feel that same way about Elijah Arroyo. I feel that same way about Gunnar Helm. I feel that same way about Terrence Ferguson. 4 players there that I feel that same way about. I have a pick at 94. There's a good chance one of those guys are going to be there at 94. So I'm not really in a rush to take a tight end here if there is no rush to take one. Now, if there's nothing interesting at more scarce positions, then I'll revisit it. But that's the one thing stopping me from going Harold Fainin here, right? D-line, TJ Sanders, Shamar Turner, Jordan Phillips. Jordan Phillips is more of a late, well, I mean, we're in early round 3, so a little bit later in round 3. Maybe I trade back in to do something here because I do have a bunch of extra picks I want nothing to do with. Corner, nope. Caleb Johnson is here at 68. I'd be excited about that. I'd be excited about Caleb Johnson at 33. Offensive tackle, Anthony Belton. Nah, I'm not really feeling that. Edge, D-line. So where I am choosing between here is running back and tight end, 2 of the deepest parts of this draft class. Caleb Johnson to me is a more special prospect at his position than Harold Fainin Jr. Now, is the fall off from Caleb Johnson to the next guy the same amount of fall off from Harold Fainin Jr. to the next guy, in my opinion? Well, if you don't take Caleb Johnson, you could take Quishon Junkins. You could take Cam Scatterboo. You could take RJ Harvey. You could take Devin Neal. There is a fall off there. I think Caleb Johnson is a bit more intriguing of a prospect than tight end is. The need is a little bit more pressing because depending on how Nick Chubb plays, you might need somebody to take over primary ball carrier duties. So I think I'm going to go Caleb Johnson here. Maybe I'm going to look around the board again. And chat, if you're in chat, let me know what you want to do right here. Because I'm leaning towards Johnson here, right? Johnson would be the guy I would lean towards. I could see going Fainin Jr. or Fainin Jr. My bad. I don't mean to mispronounce his name. If I did not draft, like I think the Browns are going to sign a center in free agency, so I'm not going to draft a center. But Mbo would be in line here, and would be the scarcity play because I do have a bunch of extra picks here. So, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go Mbo here. I'm going to go Mbo. I'm going to assume we don't have a center. I'm going to completely rebuild this offensive line. Wyatt Teller's going to be the only vet we're going to keep past 2025. And we're going to completely rebuild this whole offensive line. If Mbo doesn't work at center, I know he can play guard. So let's get Mbo here. Let's switch it up, right? Let's not do the same thing every week. Now, let's pause here, right? Because I want to keep an eye on the board. I expected to not get another swing at Fainin, but I do think I could get a swing at Caleb Johnson here. Now, if he falls to 80, I think there's a chance I might make a move, but I got to see what a trade up to 80 would cost me in this scenario. So Cleveland, let's go Indy. I did pick up all those extra picks for this reason, right? So I want to swap and get 80 for pick 103. And then I'll give you an extra 6. They'll do it for the extra 6. Will they do it for the extra 202? How about 202 and 217 and then 257? Okay. Let's see how much we can get away with if we're going to give him one of those earlier sixes. How about you go 107 from 80? I'll give you 181. You'll take that? I think I gotta do this. All right. So knowing I got that trade in place with the Colts, we're gonna let the draft go by, see who the Washington. Okay, so Washington selected Xavier Watts. We're gonna make this trade to go get Caleb Johnson. Cool. So we made this trade to go get Caleb Johnson. And we're gonna take Caleb Johnson here. And now we're going to keep an eye on quarterback. If Will Howard is here at 93, I'm going to go Will Howard. But yeah, we're going to take Caleb Johnson here. Oh, Howard's already gone. So yeah, I'm not even going to consider even trading up. All right. So Howard's gone. So the one guy that I thought I might want to go at quarterback with, he went. So we're at pick 94. No Howard. With somebody doesn't like Caleb Johnson. Is that why somebody's saying the draft got ruined? But I got Embo. So I got center for the future or guard for the future in Embo. Josh Connerly, tackle for the future. Edge of the future. Running back possibly of the future. And Caleb Johnson. All right. So I can still get Cam Scatterboo here. RJ Harvey, Devin Neal, Jordan James. Like, this is just a bunch of names here. I could go at running back. Wide receiver, I could go Jack Betch here. Xavier Restrepo. Again, these are smaller guys who are these good route runners, do fit in Stefanski's system. It might make sense to take here. So he's somebody that I'm going to look at. We're looking at interior guys. Charles Grant is interesting to me. I think Miles Frazier is interesting to me. Not right now, but a little bit interesting. Willie Lampkin, I think he's interesting to me as well. Linebacker wise, Chris Paul Jr. is somebody I could be interested in going here. Let me go highlight Kobe King because I know that's going to come in play later. Quarterback wise, I'm going to be honest. I'm not looking at if Will Howard's the only quarterback I'm willing to do round 3. If I can't do Will Howard round 3, then I'm probably just gonna not take a serious stab at quarterback this year. So that's where I'd be at. Tight end, Gunnar Helm, certainly interesting. Terrence Ferguson, Jake Bryanstone. I think Jackson Halls is interesting. Where's my guy from Iowa? We got defensive line Jordan Phillips. I think he's interesting. CJ West, not here, but interesting. Ty Hamilton. Right. And you got corners. Not really interested in corner. Running back, almost everybody here. Belton, even though I took a corner already, I thought Trapullo was interesting too. Jalen Rivers, I thought he had a good Senior Bowl. Right, and then edges, interior defensive line guys. All right, so CJ West is somebody I'm going to do early day 3, not necessarily right now. I'm leaning towards the wide receiver. Can anybody talk me out of getting a wide receiver here? Can anybody talk me out of a wide receiver? If you're not watching this live, I'm talking to the chat right now. Make sure if you have not watched me live on the OBR that you check it out. Someone says Taylor Helm. You need a tight end to block later. Get your receiving tight end now. So you're saying Mason Taylor, Gunnar Helm. Yeah. I feel like tight end, another tight end, especially with Njoku's future being in question, given his age and where the timetable the Browns seem to be on. I think a tight end makes sense here. I would prefer Helm. I haven't watched a ton of Mason Taylor, so it's not because I'm not a fan of Mason. I'm more familiar with Helm. I'm going to take the player I'm more familiar with. So yeah, I think I would go Helm here. Helm or because like here's the thing about not taking a wide receiver right now. If I don't take Jack, I don't think I draft a wide receiver. If I don't take Gunnar Helm here, I know I can get a so yeah, I'm gonna go Jack here. I'm gonna go Jack, and then I'm gonna hope that at 103, at least one of the tight ends I like is there. Yeah, so I'm gonna go Jack here. I need to get a wide receiver. Let's get a wide receiver. All right, so let me look at tight end here. We're about 3 picks out. Do I need to move up? I don't think I need to move up. I think I'm definitely going to get either Hunter, Ferguson or Helm. So I'm going to stick here at 103. Okay, cool. I'm just going to take Helm here. We all in on Helm? Are we helmet heads? Are we all in on Helm? Yeah, let's go Helm. Boom. Boom here. All right. Now let's look at the rest of our draft board. And what I mean by like our picks that we have left. We have taken 6 players. I feel really good. I feel really strong about these 6 selections. Right. Abdul Carter, love that selection. I think we got our edge of the future here. Josh Connerly, love him as a prospect, as a tackle. Marcus Ambo, center, definitely could play guard. I think you're going to find some use for him on your offensive line. Caleb Johnson, that's a starting running back to me. Jack Betch, good wide receiver, smart guy. He's going to get first downs for you. Gunnar Helm, smart tight end. So I think I've strengthened the passing game significantly by addressing the offensive line, addressing running back and tight end. Like I think we have fully addressed the offense here. Maybe we can get another running back. I think that would make some sense. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the upgrades to the offense that we have made so far. Excuse me. So I'm feeling pretty good here. The problem that I have is that I've made 6 selections. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left. I got 13 selections. I got room for maybe 10 more players, maybe 12 more players at the most. But I'm not going to really have use for these last 3 selections. So what I think I want to do is monitor this board and really take a look at running back, right? Because when I look at running back, I see RJ Harvey, somebody that I want as a third down back. He's still available early in the 4th. Devin Neal, Jordan James, Trevor Etienne's the one. I don't know what his off the field stuff is, but Trevor Etienne is somebody. Brashad Smith right here. I want to get a third down back. But I also want to get Jordan Phillips, right? So I'm going to see if there's any way I could slip back into this 4th round, sacrifice some of these picks on the back end, and still keep 165 and 182. I'll sacrifice 194, 202. I'll sacrifice these other picks, but I want to get Jordan Phillips. Let's address the defensive line, add another good player there. Because CJ West just went. I feel like there's about to be a run. Let's see what the price is right now to get into like 111 if I want to make a trade. So that is where my mind is. If you're wondering what it is that I am trying to negotiate with the New Orleans Saints. So 111, have them move back to 165. It's going to be tough sell. Now they do have 130, which is also in the 4th, which might come in to be important later. So I can see what kind of value I can extract later on. Okay, so obviously that's not going to be enough. But maybe 202 could move them. Okay, so they're not moving off 111 for cheap. What about for 430? How much would it take to move them off of that? Yeah, I think I could get this done. Okay. How about I give you a 5th next year? and then 217 and 216. They don't want to do it. So that's going to be the price to move up, huh? All right. Well, are there any other defensive tackles? I mean, Harold Cross, Elijah Roberts. I really want to see if I can move back in. Jordan James is the way to go for another running back. I like Jordan James a lot there too. Let's see. Let's see if we can find a trade we like. I still want to hunt for a trade that we like. What about Arizona? Let's go Arizona. They have 114. They don't have a lot of picks left, so they might not be willing. They might want to take some extra picks, actually. So maybe these picks have extra value to them. Yeah, I think they might be willing to move here. Okay, what about I give you 194, 216? Oh, I still got to offer you that fifth? That's crazy. What about fourth next year? Okay, so fourth next year does it. I'm pretty sure fourth next year would do it, even if I didn't include. Okay. So I could give you a fourth next year, 207. I'm just seeing how little I can get away with on this machine. All right, so I could give up 182. I don't want to trade both those though. How about I give you 182, 216. Ugh. We'll see if it comes down to it. We'll see if he's even there. Right. Walker, Mo Evans. All right, Mullins just went. So I mean, Arizona, they're there. Let's see if they have come down on their offer here. So, what would it take just to do a straight up swap? How much I would have to give them? I could give them this, that, get a swap here, but I kind of want to keep 165. How much more expensive would this make it on the back end? Can I throw in a seventh? I wouldn't hate that. I think Twitter would hate that though. I think Twitter would hate that. Somebody brings up a good point. Can you put Fumble 13's last chat on screen from Twitch? I think he brings up a great point, right? It might be easy now to be like, yeah, I'll trade all this to get a defensive tackle, but I don't think I want to dip into next year's assets. And if I don't feel strongly about Darius Phillips enough to be willing to just do a regular swap here, then maybe that says something about how I feel about the player. Maybe I'm just going to be more willing to move around that fifth round market. Maybe I'm just tapped out the fourth round here. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna let it slide. Just see how the board falls. I'm probably gonna lose the guy here. Maybe he got like a medical or something because he is falling through these boards. Okay, he just went 130, so yeah, the price is gonna be too much. All right, but once we get into the fifth, I'm gonna look around. Who's available in the fifth round? Let's look around here and check out who is available in the fifth. Got Ricky White here. We're done on wide receiver. Defensive line wise, Ty Robinson, who I think is pretty good. Tim Smith's all right. Where they got Zeke Biggers? They got Zeke Biggers as a Georgia State player. He's Georgia Tech. Okay. Corner, Quincy Riley's there. Might be worth moving up for. RJ Harvey still here? RJ Harvey is still here? All right. Yeah, if RJ Harvey's still there. If he's still there, let's see where I'm at, 165, I'll move up a good amount of spots to get RJ Harvey here. So if he's still up here at like 144, let's see what the price for that's going to be to get 144. I always forget that the Raiders are no longer in Oakland. All right, so 144. Yeah, man, I'm paying that price. Hold on. 202. All right, 194 and 217 or 194 and 757. Okay, no. Yeah, 194, 217. How about that? And I still get to pick at 156. I still get to pick at 182. I'm only losing one pick. I'll roster about 12 players. Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm doing this because even if I don't get RJ Harvey, I'm gonna get either Trevor Etienne, Devin Neal, Jordan James. I feel good about that. So we're gonna take 144. The Raiders want to trade back with me. Shouldn't have made the deal to begin with, brother. All right, I'm taking RJ Harvey here. Gonna get a third down running back. I feel pretty good about that. We might be able to go get another tight end here because I see Terrence Ferguson is still sitting here on the board as well. So RJ Harvey, I think the real, like, if you want a third down running back, the real conversations between him or Trevor Etienne, I think RJ is probably going to be a better blocker in the next level because he has a stronger base than Trevor Etienne does. Also, Trevor Etienne does have a couple of off the field concerns that RJ Harvey simply does not. So RJ Harvey here. It's my first non-A pick. So this is the one the simulator does not like. Go figure. It is absolutely one of my favorite picks of this draft. All right, so Ty Robinson just went. Baltimore's offering me a trade. Tennessee's offering me a trade. Houston's offering me a trade. They're all offering me next year's 6. Y'all want me to accept any of these trades? By the way, hit the like button if you haven't hit the like button already. But y'all want me to accept any of these trades? I don't think I want to accept any of these trades, but y'all let me know. Oh yeah, my guy, my blocking tight end. Definitely gonna go after him soon. Got Gunnar Helm. Geez, Devin Neal is still here. Whew. What a running back class, man. What a running back class. Okay, Kyron Lacey is not an option. Yeah, I think the second, like, I am so tempted to go Terrence Ferguson here because the value, but I got Gunnar Helm at 103. I'm not going to be greedy. Defensive line wise, maybe I go Ty Hamilton. Ooh, Kobe Bryant. Do I see anything that's moving me off Kobe Bryant here? I do not see anything that's moving me off Kobe Bryant. I absolutely take Kobe Bryant, and I attempt to service this defense at all 3 levels. Abdul Carter here. And then my next pick is probably going to be a swing at linebacker with Kobe King. But that's how I am working through this draft. So Kobe Bryant. My next pick here is going to be Kobe King. And I know he's going to be available a little bit later, but I don't know if 7 spots later and getting the extra 6 is worth it to me. So I'm going to reject this trade. I'm going to reject that trade. We're going to take Kobe King. So we got a linebacker for the defense. We got a new corner for the defense. We got a new edge rusher for the defense. I'm not trading with Baltimore. I'm not making them better. Maybe Ty Hamilton here makes sense. Well, I'm at 202. I know I got 216. I feel pretty strongly about who I want at 216. Trevor Etienne is there, which is like incredible value, but I've already feel great about the 2 running backs I got. The value I got there. Same thing goes. Damian Martinez, somebody like Brinstone, I like too. Brashad Smith, I like him a lot too. Like, the value here at running back is insane. Wide receiver, Jimmy, not a lot of value there, right? Linebacker, already got the one linebacker I wanted. Tight end, Jackson Halls. If Jackson Halls is there at 202, I'm taking him. Not 202. Where I'm at. Yeah, if Jackson Halls is there at 216, I'm taking him because I feel like I could take Luke here and be fine. Ty Hamilton might be the selection. I might want to get another big body in there. Yeah, I think Ty is going to be the guy I go with. How do you guys feel? How does the chat feel? Should I go Ty Hamilton? or should I go elsewhere? Let's see. Am I hearing any objections to Ty Hamilton? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, we're going to go Ty Hamilton here. We're going to get a blocking tight end. Yeah, let's get Ty Hamilton here. Let's go ahead. Let's get another defensive lineman. All right, and then we're sitting at 216. Jackson Hall's there at 216. So I'm going to get my blocking tight end here. I saw this dude do a one-on-one with the edge at the Senior Bowl. This dude can block. Lecky is there too. Like him a lot. But in this scenario, if I'm choosing between Hawes and him, I'm taking Hawes. Let's take Hawes. And hell, if he's there at 157, I might consider going there. But I feel really good about this draft haul, right? Slater, Yaya Black just went. This is a good Tyler Batty still available. Okay, he just went. Cool. We at the last pick of the draft. So we're going to also be able to get a head start on who would be the undrafted free agents that we get. So that's a fun thing that we get to do. We get to talk about undrafted free agents. Who is going to be there? Marcus Yarns, who I thought had a pretty fun Senior Bowl week. Donovan Edwards would be an interesting one. Jaden Blue is a pretty unlikely undrafted free agent, but they have him going undrafted here. Let's see who else. Wide receiver wise, I mean, Zachary Franklin. I would definitely bring in Zachary Franklin as an undrafted free agent. Not going to draft him now. Interior offensive line. Anybody? No. How about linebacker? Anybody? Where's my guy from UNLV? Jackson Woodward. I would bring him in, UDFA, for sure. Yeah, Jackson Woodward, I would bring him in. Quarterbacks, any UDFA guys? Max Brosmer, UDFA. I would take him at the UDFA. So we're going to bring in him as a UDFA, or at least attempt to. Lecky might be the draft pick right here. Amin Hassanin would be somebody I would call as a UDFA guy. Cornerback, maybe Jabbar Muhammad. Running backs, tackles, any UDFA guys here? No priority UFA guys here. All right. I'm going to take my guy. We're going to get another tight end. We're going to run 13 personnel. And then we're going to call the rest of these guys to get them in camp, get them in as UDFAs. Hopefully we get to grab some of these guys, but we're going to turn in this card for Luke, call it a day. And no, I did not take a quarterback, which I think will be the most controversial thing about this draft. No quarterback selected. What does that mean about what you do in free agency? It does change a little bit, right? If you don't take a quarterback in the draft, maybe it's because you feel good about maybe being able to land two of your targets. So you get Kirk Cousins, or maybe it's Matt Stafford, and then you're able to add somebody like a Justin Fields underneath them, a Malik Willis, a Joe Milton, a Kyle Trask, somebody like that underneath them. Or you go double vet, right? You get Kirk Cousins, you get Jacoby Brissett, and then you get somebody to take that third spot behind them, Josh Dobbs or whatever it is. You just have a more veteran quarterback room, and you just worry about quarterback next year. You don't even pretend like you're going to find any kind of answer here. The guy I was targeting at quarterback would be around 94-ish for Will Howard. He was not there. I don't even think he was there at 80. So if he's not mid to late third round, then that's a little high for me. I'm probably going to stay off of him. What quarterbacks? I think I brought in Max Brosmer as a UDFA guy from Minnesota. So that's who the UDFA guy would be. But let's go through this draft. Let's go pick by pick by pick and really explain it. Abdul Carter probably needs the least amount of explanation here. Edge rusher. With Miles's future in limbo, you want to get somebody who can hold down that position. But even if it wasn't Miles's future being in limbo, I would still go Abdul Carter because you get to add strength on strength and have one of the most ridiculous defensive lines in football. So if Miles rescinds his trade request, cool. We're going to have Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett, and we're going to terrify offensive lines. Speaking of our offensive line, I feel like we have addressed the offensive line. It's never sexy to address the offensive line, but it's necessary. Look, at the Kansas City Chiefs can have their three-peat run ruined by a bad offensive line, then the Browns can have whatever their hopes are blown up by a bad offensive line. So you get Josh Connerly. It's a tackle solution there that allows you to just let DeJuan be a right tackle. Also, you get to see what you have in your young guard prospect in Zach Zinter. If he works out at guard, cool. Then Mbao can play center. If he does not work out at guard, if Zinter doesn't work out at guard, I feel good about Mbao being a guard as well. So 4 new young offensive linemen, leaving it to be, hey, the Wyatt Teller can be the last veteran left, and you address the offensive line completely. Now everybody's under 30. You feel great about that. Awesome. Caleb Johnson, get a running back, somebody who can be a every down back for you. If Nick Chubb can't contribute, if Nick Chubb can contribute at a high level, then you have a really good change of pace guy and a big body that can absorb some of those short yardage runs that Nick Chubb has never really been great at. You get a wide receiver here, Jack out of TCU. Think he's a good route runner, solid hands guy, just another guy who can get you some first downs. Late 3rd round addition. Feel really good about that. Another reliable, dependable receiver in Gunnar Helm. So your offense is upgraded at running back, offensive line, tight end, and wide receiver. No, you did not get the massive upgrade at quarterback, but if you do get a Kirk Cousins in this offense, I think that's enough to be a little bit better, right? To be a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot better than you were last year, because the upgraded quarterback is key. But you address the material needs at the quarterback position. And this puts you in a position to where if you get the opportunity to take a quarterback in 2026, that guy could come in, guns blazing, rolling, right? Because all of a sudden you got a good offensive line, you got a good run game, you got a good run block game, you have some tight ends to throw to. All of a sudden, whatever quarterback you take in next year's draft, that guy can come in, guns blazing, nothing to worry about. Awesome. But I didn't just neglect the defense. Kobe Bryant is somebody I could see as a pretty obvious Greg Newsome replacement. He can be an outside corner if you need a replacement for Martin Emerson in the future. Kobe King, big linebacker. I think he's the perfect pair to put next to somebody like a JOK. And if JOK can't come back, he's a great run stopper at the linebacking position. Ty Hamilton, another good body to put in there at the defensive line. You get a blocking tight end in Jackson Halls. And just to make it a fun competition at camp, you also got Luke Leckie out of Iowa. I keep mispronouncing his name, but you get him out of Iowa. He could be another blocking tight end. I think there's a chance that he could be a gem because he was catching everything at the Senior Bowl. So you just take him, see what happens. Worst case scenario, you have one too many tight ends. That's a good problem to have. So I'm willing to deal with it. But I feel really good about addressing the material needs of both the offense and the defense in this draft class, as well as being able to build towards the future and providing a template of players in combination with what you can get in free agency, what you already got in the draft, what you already got on the roster that could possibly compete in 2025. We'll see how these players turn out, but in this scenario, I feel pretty good about it. Let me know your thoughts down here. So if we could, let's put the comments up. Put some comments up, read some reactions to this whole thing. Omarion Hampton at 33 is ideal. I like Omarion Hampton, big bruising running back. 33, given how strong this class is, it's just so hard for me to justify taking a running back at 33. Not because I don't believe in the positional value of running back. I'm a very strong believer in the positional value of running back. There's so many running backs here, man. Like, we got to the 6th round. I'm like, there's 4 running backs I would draft here, right? Like, there's just so many running backs in this draft class that it's hard to say I'm going to pass on maybe what I feel like is the last really good value at tackle to get a pretty damn good running back prospect in a prospect class full of them. You know, we got another one. Appreciate the comment. Doesn't matter. You address both lines without doubling up. Not sexy, but a winning strategy. Yeah, I mean, there are going to be people who will be furious about this if the Browns did this in real life because it's not sexy and they're kicking the can. They're playing it safe, right? We'll hear all kind of comments about how the Browns aren't being aggressive enough. Look, there's going to be a push to get this instant satisfaction from this year's draft, but instant satisfaction in the draft usually not the greatest thing, right? We had instant satisfaction when we traded all them picks for one selection. We thought we won that trade with the Falcons, ended up looking stupid. So, I just want the Browns to do what can help them build the best team. And right now, because they haven't had first round picks the last 3 years, they need to add some really talented players and some really key positions. I think this draft's going to offer you a lot of chances to do. Got another one. What about any safeties? I just didn't find any opportunity for safety. I like safety in this class. Makuba, I think he's a really good player. Winston out of Penn State, really good player, right? There's some good safeties in this class. Ronnie Hickman. Oh my goodness. Lathan Ransom, really good player out of Ohio State. The issue isn't that there's not talent there. It's just it never lined up, right? I like those guys third round. The value at other positions made more sense than what was available at safety because I think all those guys went second or early third. But yes, this is. Do we got one more comment from Fumble 13? Yeah, I have a funny feeling we won't be picking at 33. Either go up and grab a fifth year QB or get down with future picks, KVE for next year. Yeah, I think that if the Browns trade a pick, I don't know if they're going to be able to trade out of 2. I've been skeptical about a trade out of 2 for a very long time because I do believe that this quarterback class is not that great. I do believe that both Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, even though I prefer Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward, I do think that both of those guys are outside the realm of what you would want in a prospect to draft this early. Like, I think both of those guys, if selected in the top 3, would be the worst prospect taken in the top 3 since probably Mitchell Trubisky. Like, I just don't think that they're top 3 prospects. And I don't see this being this huge market to try to trade up and draft one of these guys in the top 3. Given that I don't feel that strongly about them. So I don't know if there's going to be this crazy trade up market at 2, right? This is not Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, where it was a strong market for both of those players. This is a market where I think everybody is willing to pass at quarterback, especially that early, especially if you have to add the tax of having to trade up for that pick. I don't think anybody's willing to do it. I think what I would like to do with 33 is move it, right? So that makes me skeptical about 2. 33, I do think it's the pick that they move. 33 feels like the pick that they move. Can we put on Does It Matter's last chat on the screen? What strategy are we here in the chat going into with these mocks? Are we setting up ranked targets in each round? So yeah, you could do the packet theory, right? Which is, I think Ray Farmer's the one who popularized that one, hilariously enough. But packet theory is basically you go into each pick with a packet of players. If those packets of players are there, you select one of those players at that pick and you move on with your day. If you get to a pick and none of your packet players are there, you trade back to another packet. I kind of use a hybrid where I look at the board, I see what players I like at what spots, but I also play it by what the board's giving me. So I don't really go into it thinking I need a running back, I need a tight end, I need an offensive lineman. I don't like if the board falls in a way to where it makes sense for me to address the offensive line as drastically as I did in this mock, I'll do it. But if the board does not fall in a way where it makes sense to address that, then I'm going to adjust with what the board is giving me. So I'm more of a less rigid guy when it comes to that. I like to see what the board gives you and make your decisions based on that, because I think that's what mock drafts are really good at. Mock drafts suck at predicting things. They aren't great for prediction, but what mock drafts are really good for are the mental exercise of, okay, this is what's on the board. This is what makes sense for your team. If this is the situation that they're in, given that the situation that you're going through might not ever happen, but the exercise of doing that work will definitely pay off. But that's it for Quincy Carrier Live. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys like mock drafts, because we got a mock draft duel coming up after this show with Sam and Jacob. So that's it for me on the OBR network. I'll see you guys soon. Now let's toss it up to Jacob.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another mock draft duel episode here on the OBR streaming network. I'm your host, Jacob, with my co-host, Mr. Sam Penix. Sam, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm not doing too bad. How are you?
Not too bad. It was very, very cold leaving the office today. So hold on just a second.
I can imagine. That time of year.
Yeah, no, like I definitely left my house. It was 22 degrees. I got a little bit further north. It turned 12 degrees and started snowing. And I was like, I would like to get as far out of here as I possibly could.
That's how you know the combine's almost here.
The dropping temperatures like that.
Yep.
The combine's one of my
bones.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If the temperature is in the teens, I'm like, I just have absolutely no interest in doing anything. All right, everybody, welcome in again to another episode. Make sure you hit that subscribe, give us a thumbs up, enjoy our little "It's Been Cold" banter. But this week we are going with a triple mock draft here, and bringing in my good friend Mr. Bill Sparks. We'll bring him in here to this conversation. Oh no. Bill is in audio only mode. Bill, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Beautiful.
How you doing, man?
Beautiful. I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. I'm with you. It's a little bit chillier, but draft season's heating up, and the amount of tape I'm consistently grinding and regrinding is keeping me warm. So I'm happy for that. I'm gonna be even happier in 2 weeks when I'm at the combine and I can actually put some of the measurements on my tape now. So
I'm very jealous. I switched jobs very recently in careers, so I'm not like in the able to take time off right now kind of thing, because I was trying to get down to Mobile, and I was trying to get over to Indy, at least one of them, because I like set that goal 2 years ago. Like, I'm gonna go do this thing, and then I didn't do this thing. All right, so for tonight, I've got the PFF mock draft simulator. Sam's gonna have NFL mock draft database. Bill's got PFN, and we're gonna try to give you guys as many different scenarios as we can, all here jam packed into this hour. Please fire away thoughts, picks, preferences, all that good stuff in the comments. We very much enjoy interacting with you guys. So Bill, I don't have it. If you want to share your screen, I don't have it yet.
Let me grab it.
That way we can I just want to make sure I've got everything. I've got mine. I've got that. While Bill's doing that, I will send it to Mr. Sam Penix, and he can kick off the festivities tonight with his PFN, and let's see how quickly he trades all the 6th round picks.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we want to get that out of the way right off the bat, or?
Bill, there's a running joke. I don't know if you've seen the show before, but Sam likes to trade all the 6th round picks so he doesn't have to make them. So he likes to get that out of the way pretty quickly.
Hey, give me some credit. That's not the reason. It's because there's no roster spots available, right? It's definitely not because I don't want to make all the 6th round picks.
Right.
Definitely not.
Fair enough.
All right.
So-
I don't know. Let's be different, and I'll go with Ward here because I haven't done that yet. So I think at this point, if I'm gambling on a QB prospect in this year's draft, I want a guy who I think at least has the physical capability to be in that upper echelon of guys. And I think really Ward is far outclassing Sanders in that specific regard. That's obviously not the whole entire picture of who these guys are as players, but for me, if I'm gonna have to hitch my wagon to one of these guys, I want the guy who I think can at least make all the throws, can extend the plays out of the pocket, and just kind of has that next level of not necessarily elite arm strength, but definitely very good tier. And so I think we'll take that risk here and go with Ward at number 2.
I just wanted to put Fumble's comments up here because, like, if Mike Green fell to 33 after Cam Ward at 2,
Listen.
whew.
I don't see a way of
Like a
him getting out of the
true
top 10 at this point. Like he's going to go to the combine and blow the doors off of that place. Like we thought what he did to Josh Connerly in Mobile was tweet worthy and social media worthy. He's going to do something at the combine that everybody's going to reshare, and ESPN's going to play it 74 times on draft night.
Yeah, that's probably fair. All right, Bill, man, let's pass it over to you, man, and get us started with your first pick.
Yeah, so obviously in this case, I would have went quarterback as well, hence the reason for my Baker Mayfield jersey tonight. I've kind of hopped on the quarterback at number 2 train, but since Sam went in that route, I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to go Travis Hunter, the corner wide receiver out of Colorado. And the reason I say that is obviously this team's going to have a need at multiple positions, cornerback being one of them, wide receiver being another, especially with Elijah Moore moving on. I think Travis Hunter is a full-time cornerback. I think he's an all-pro level player at the cornerback position. I mean, my comparison from a play style perspective is Champ Bailey. So let that sink in for a second. I think he moonlights at wide receiver. So in that scenario, you can have him take whatever snaps you were giving to Elijah Moore and just redistribute them to Travis Hunter and not see a drop off. And a cornerback room of Ward and Hunter and Emerson allows Newsome to potentially be moved down the line to A, help alleviate any cap problems you have, and B, recoup some additional draft capital either for this year or going into next year. So no brainer on Travis Hunter there at number 2.
Can I ask both of you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be upset if you never saw him dance after an incompletion ever again? Greg Newsome.
No comment.
Okay. All right. We're all on the same page. Let's just make sure we're all doing it. It's like, dude, you didn't even do anything. It was an overthrow.
Right.
But anyway, all right. I'm going to go on the board here, and I'm going to make sure I hit everything right. I did. Here's this conversation that you want to have about the quarterback position, and I did this a couple of weeks ago, where I talked about Shedeur and some of the deficiencies and why I didn't like him. For tonight's conversation, I'm going to take Shedeur here. And I'm going to say to myself, I hear the buzz surrounding this is a very interesting thing, by the way, guys. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a lot of people talking about like how weird they think it is that a lot of national people are saying don't take a quarterback 1 and 2 for teams that desperately need one in Tennessee and Cleveland, but you absolutely have to if you're the Giants and the Raiders. And they're like, what? It's like, if they're good enough for that, I know that I'm one of the like take Abdul Carter kind of guy, but that's an interesting conversation, I think, to have, just from the standpoint of like, well, maybe they want those names in not Tennessee and Cleveland. And you're like, no, I don't necessarily disagree with it. But I am of the this is the way I wanted to articulate what I think about Shadur Sanders in terms of why I wouldn't do it, but also make the argument for why I would. I texted a friend of mine over the weekend who's a very big Shadur guy, and we've gone back and forth, had some really productive conversations. Tyler Johnson, we've talked about it a little bit. And so I basically told him what I feel about Shadur. Okay. I said to him, I understand the pros and I see a path to him being successful in the NFL. More so than anything, I don't see a guy who's ever going to be more than a top 16 quarterback. That's where I think he is because of the physical limitations. I don't think his arm is weak. I think it's average. I think some people are overblowing that into saying it's weak. He can push the ball vertically. It's just not Josh Allen. It's just not Patrick Mahomes. It's just not Cam Ward. It's not that. So to me, you have to ask yourself, is that good enough? Because that's where I see. Now, could he be better than that? Of course. But in my projecting brain, that's what I say. And I say, can that be good enough? And one thing he said was, I think they can win a lot of games with a guy like that. And I'm like, well, you're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong. It's just you got out of the Baker Mayfield business because you wanted more than that. But now you would kill to just have that back. So for that reason, Shadur, when he is on, when he is protected, when he is feeling good about himself, he can be surgical with that ball placement. It's the best in this class. And for that reason, I see, and he had what was it, 1.3% turnover worthy play percentage? It was incredibly low last year. And that matches up with a lot of what Kevin Stefanski does. And the Browns have been throwing a bunch of interceptions the last couple of years, and he can kind of fix some of those stuff. And I think he could go hand in hand with Kevin Stefanski. And as much as I wouldn't love it, I see a path it being somewhat successful. So for that reason, I'm going to take him tonight, and then I'm going to try to build around him the way I would. All right.
That's fair. I think I'm with you. I used to be on the Abdul Carter train, and now I'm on that Shadur train because we've taken swings at quarterback, and I know someone talked about it. The last time we've picked a quarterback in the top 5, it's been twice. It's been Baker Mayfield, and before that it was Tim Couch. And Tim Couch in '99 was part of an expansion team. We failed him. But you hit the nail on the head. We are starved for top 16 quarterback play. We would kill to have Baker back. At this point, we're bottom 32, and at 31's a Grand Canyon away in terms of our quarterback play. So I think there's something to be said. If they're good enough for the Giants at 3, it's clearly going to be good enough for the Browns at 2. And I'm not that far off for either of them. Cam Ward's my 11th overall prospect, and Shadur Sanders is my 19th overall guy. So they're not that far off from a top 2 or 3 pick when you factor in they're playing the quarterback position.
I made a mistake, guys. I said MC Lawrence's trigger word. I did that.
Oh,
I did.
You know better.
Should I?
I know better. No, it's a running joke between us.
Should I just scrunch down on the camera a little bit here?
Oh no, he's gonna love you. You got a Baker jersey on. All right, Sam, you're back up, man.
So I know we didn't get like a premier tackle to fall to 33 here, but I feel like the board is very interesting. You have Harmon, big disruptor at defensive tackle. Colston Loveland is very intriguing here. That would be a great tight end duo. I would love that. Also, got some pretty nice trade offers here. I don't know how realistic they are, but I could move down anywhere from 1 to 3 spots and pick up some nice top 100, 105 selections here. So I think that I am comfortable at this point with taking either Loveland, Harmon, or Donovan Jackson at 33. So I'm going to move down here. Well, I'm used to it. So we're gonna move down here, pick up another third and some future picks, and then I'm gonna end up with one of those guys, most likely.
Oh, that's you get the pick. What you lot? No, you have all of them. They're all there.
Yeah. So all right, there you
They're all
go.
still there.
I didn't help anything. All right. I think I have to go with Loveland because I just think the talent there is too much to pass on. Like the guy is a fantastic pass catcher. You may not be the most prototypical inline tight end, but I think you can work with him there. You've seen it happen before, and I think he would just add another dynamic pass catcher to your offense, which, oh, look, we just took a quarterback who could really use one of those guys. So that's pretty convenient. So I'm going to go with Loveland. And I don't know, maybe I'll try to move up here without jeopardizing my 18 day 3 picks here because I have to finally, confront that and make some picks.
He's good. I will give OG Philly some credit here. He said all these reports about the Browns should go quarterback at 2 all came at the same time, like it was a coordinated leak. You don't.
It's that kind of season. I mean,
it's smokescreen season.
Do you guys remember when they were testing Hugh Jackson and they just kept linking stuff to Hugh Jackson so he would tell Mike Silver?
Remember when they were going to hire Condoleezza Rice as like GM or whatever? Like
she was going to be the head coach.
Yeah,
they were going to bring her in to be head coach, and she was like, "I like football, but."
And at first, when I read that, I was like, "No, that can't be serious." And then I'm like, "But it is the Browns,
right?"
Like,
that's how it made it through the common sense filter for whoever was intentionally given that information.
Yeah.
You can't put anything past these guys.
Get you a pass catcher here and a blocking tight end in the early 20s. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yep.
A coordinated league is me and 3 okay. All right. I should have. All right, Bill, you're on the clock.
Yeah, so I'm on the clock here at 33, and there's two schools of thought here. So the first one is obviously somehow, some way, Josh Simmons made it through the first round and is sitting there staring me in the face at 33. There is, however, a very, very nice trade offer sitting here from San Francisco that allows me essentially how the trade offer breaks down when you use the Rich Hill value chart is our pick right now is worth 180. They're giving me the equivalent of 210, which gives me 2 more selections to slide back. I know in my mind I was going to say I wasn't going to trade down at all. I was going to stick and pick at every pick, but I'm taking this if San Francisco wants to give me an additional top 100 pick, especially with how closely these guys are graded in this class. I will take a second one.
I can't, my screen, it's really small on my screen. So you're sliding back to what to get what?
So sliding back to 43 to get pick 75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So going back 10 to get another, another top 100 pick. And in this case, I'm going to reject any trade offers because I'm actually going to pick here for once. So this selection here, this is predicated on the fact that JOK's neck injury is more serious than anyone cares to let on. And we are going to be looking for a new middle of the defense star linebacker to replace JOK. Or if he comes back healthy, now we have a second linebacker that we can move JOK around, move him on the edge as a rusher, things like that. I'm going to go Jihad Campbell out of Alabama here at linebacker because here is the thing. He is probably one of the most violent old school style linebackers. There's game tape of him out there. He's got no pads. He's got no tape. It is just his hands, his elbows, and whoever gets in his way. And it is violent, especially in the run game. His pass coverage skills, they're not on JOK's level, so let's not get it twisted there. But this is a guy, he's also going to be 21 this summer. Very young player, very young prospect, still has a lot of room to grow. So going to fit those guardrails very well. And I think getting him there at, the middle of the second round, when there's talk of him being a first round selection for some of these teams, I'm going to take that and I'm going to run with it.
Yeah. He plays with his hair on fire. I know that's like such a what do you call that? I don't know. It's
A
just
cliche.
cliche. There we go. Oh my goodness, why I couldn't think of the word cliche. I know it's a cliche, but like he does. All right.
Yes.
All right, I'm back on the board, and somehow Colston Loveland's here for me as well. But I'm leaning Elikai Manor, the running back, the wide receiver from Stanford here,
A
just because.
Freudian slip?
Yeah, like you know me. It's Monday. Um, you get Shadur in the first round. I look at Elikai Manor. You look at some of the numbers were dropped down a little bit this year, but a lot of that to me had to do with the quarterback play. I didn't think it was very good there at Stanford. I like Jack Besh. I think this is a little high for me on him. The TCU wide receiver, I have him a little bit lower on my board, but Elikai Manor is a size speed guy that I was writing a profile that comes out tomorrow on the OBR on Tuesday for Tetaroa McMillan, and there's some similarities between him and Elikai Manor in the sense that like they're fluid athletes. Like I love the way they move and just glide across, and they've got the length and the size, and it's the kind of wide receiver I want to give a rookie quarterback to give him some easy answers mixed with Jerry Jeudy, who can create some of the vertical stuff down the field and things like that. And I'm just trying to build around this quarterback position. So getting a better weapons there. I think that Iomanor could fit into this scheme. And I think the size speed combination mixed with Shadur Sanders, I think puts a pretty good spot there. So I'll take him at 33.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Iomanor's a very good player, and I think he gives you the type of skill set at receiver that the team does not have, both because of the physicality before and after the catch, and that after the catch ability, where he can take a slant or a drag and then turn it into a 20-yard gain just because he runs the ball like a running back, and you don't have a guy who does that right now.
And I forgot to mention, he will block the hell out of you as a run blocker. So that's one difference between him and Tetaroa McMillan, where it goes in his favor, where we know what Kevin Stefanski thinks about wide receivers need the block on the outside. And so he can do those sorts of things. So back to you, Sam. Oh, he's already ready.
All right, I am trading up, but I'm not giving up any of my day 3 picks. We're keeping them in the pocket. All right, we're going up to get Donovan Jackson because we need some offensive line help, and there's not a tackle prospect that I like more than him at this point. So we gave up what 48 or 67 and then 94. So we have 88, and now we just got 49. So we're going with Donovan Jackson. Experiment with him at tackle, see if he can continue that success from the second half of the season, especially the college football playoff. And if not, I think you got a terrific guard there. So I think you're going to be happy either way.
Yeah, you're going to find a home for him. Like, we'll see what it is. But, Bill, you and I have had some conversations on the Draft Professor like this when we talk about offensive linemen. Draft him and figure it out later, because
yes,
he's going to play. All right, Bill, it's back to you.
Absolutely. So before I start here, I'm going to take a wild swing, and I'm going to try to see if I can get back to pick 68. I'm picking at 67 right now. I'm going to see if I can get back to pick 68, giving up pick 75, which I got, and pick 103, which is the top of the 4th round. And Buffalo accepts. So I'm going to go back to back here. The first pick I'm going to make is Caleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa, who I think is the best zone runner in this entire draft class. Absolute star, and is going to fit into this scheme very well, whether it be a 1-2 punch with Chubb or he is the lead back in that scenario. And with my second selection here, I'm going to go with a tight end prospect that's kind of fallen off the radar a little bit. Folks aren't nearly as high on him as some are. He is my tight end 2 for me on my big board, and it's Gunnar Helm, the tight end out of Texas. just an athletic matchup nightmare for opposing defenses, especially opposing linebackers. He bailed out Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers a lot and had to do it very frequently. I have him as a top 50 guy, so to be able to get him here, pick 68 is excellent value for me. His game reminds me a lot of Jake Ferguson, the current Dallas Cowboys tight end, where he's like a 7-Eleven. He's just always open in the zone, and whoever the quarterback of this team is going to be, which we still have to figure out in my mock, he's going to have two very good security blankets and David Njoku on one side and Gunnar Helm on the other when we eventually roll out some 12 personnel.
And we know we're going to see some of that 12 personnel this year.
Absolutely.
Thank God. All right. I will get back on the train here. All right. Let's see what we got going on. Oh, look at them. They're just both right there. They're just.
This always happens.
Somehow it does. Let me look at what we've got on the offensive line, because that's very. I want to put both of these up here. That's very important. I know some people may call it early for Marcus Bowe here at 67. But just like Bill says about Caleb Johnson and his fit as a zone runner, Marcus Bowe's fit I think he's an interior offensive lineman in the NFL. I don't know if I think it's guard or center. I think I like him more at center, because I think he can use that football IQ, which I think he has a ton of it. You can see how comfortable he feels. In any kind of system, any kind of position, you move him around. He's shown you some of those sorts of things. I just think that he's such a good athlete, and just kind of the movement skills and mixed with, he's got power. I mean, he's a smaller guy, but if you want to call a guy of that size smaller, but whatever you want to say. But I just think he's a really good fit, and I think he's a top of the third kind of guy where maybe you want to try him at tackle. I don't think he's a tackle, but maybe you want to try him there and you figure it out. But I think getting some offensive line help for your rookie quarterback would be the way to go.
Yeah. For me, Marcus Bowe is center number one in this class just because of his athletic ability in a class that doesn't have a lot of true centers, but he has the measurements to play tackle. I mean, we're talking about a guy 6'4", 309, 33-inch arm length. He checks every box that you would want as a tackle. We talked about it over at the Draft Professor, Jacob, but he is one of those guys where you draft him and you figure it out.
Yeah.
Take your 5 best guys to protect your quarterback and figure it out later.
Yeah. I'm like, yep, I'm good with that. I'm good with players that can play. All right, Sam. Back to you.
Right. We've got some interesting guys on the board. Could go running back here. Plenty of Ohio State guys are not on the board, so I don't have to deal with that problem. I don't know how realistic it is, but I am liking Omar Norman Lott a lot here. That was a terrible pun, but he's a very good player. Explosive, very, very high pass rush ceiling, I think, at the next level. And I think adding him to the rotation, and I specify rotation because Tennessee is a weird defense, and that they didn't really play him that much because he was constantly rotating out with a bunch of other guys. So bringing him along more slowly, kind of like they did with Michael Hall, who also was rotated out a lot in college. And you saw, like, he proved he could be a every down player in the league. And I think Norman Lott has that potential as well. And I think this is a good area of the draft to find a guy who can help you in that defensive tackle room, because you're going to have a need there sooner rather than later. So I like him at this point here at 88.
Especially because, like, he's a little bit of an older prospect, but, like, I think as you start getting later in those drafts, we've seen him bend the guardrails, and I think that upside is there at 88 as a pass rusher.
This is the range of the draft where they took Jordan Elliott, which is kind of where you start to expand those guardrails a little bit more. So I think he probably makes it into the draft board. If they're picking at 88 and he's on the board, I don't see how they would turn him down.
Yeah. I think that's sometimes the talent goes that direction. I'm with you. All right, Bill, back to you.
Back to me. So I am going to go a little bit off the beaten path here, and I'm going to go get my quarterback. And some folks may think that this is a bit early. However, with how he performed at the Senior Bowl, I don't think it is. And we are going to go to the elder statesman, the Louisville signal caller, Tyler Shuck, out of Louisville. Natural velocity when he generates it off his hand. He can hit every level of the field without straining. A clean release, gets the ball out with quick anticipation, gets the ball out quickly, drives it down the field very easily. Very good in play action concepts. The biggest concerns about him are his age. He's going to be 25 years old as a rookie, so I know people are going to be screaming Brandon Whedon all over again. And of course, his durability concerns, multiple collarbone injuries in college, broke it at least twice. That's been reported. So is this a little bit high for him? Yes, but this is a prospect that I have watched more, especially seeing him down in Mobile, seeing him spin it in Mobile. I don't think the age is so much a concern anymore because you see guys like Bo Nix and Michael Penix, these older prospects that come into the league and they play like they're elder statesmen. You want a guy who can be able to drive the ball down the field at all three levels, put some spin on it, throw it with some anticipation. If you keep him protected and keep him on schedule, like Stefanski can do when everything's working, he is going to be a very good quarterback. I compare him to Brock Osweiler when Osweiler was with Denver and Houston. That same guy, when everything's working and everything's clicking, he can be a top 16, 17 quarterback. And with all the talent that we've assembled this far in the draft and that we currently have on the roster, that's all we need. At least until we get to 2026 when we can get our guy. In this scenario, obviously couldn't get our guy. But yeah, Tyler Shuck from Louisville is going to be the pick here for me.
I'll tell you what, it's very funny that you said that. On my drive in today, I was listening to Todd McShay's podcast, and he was giving a lot of love for Tyler Shuck on his Thursday podcast. I'm so glad that I listened to that and heard how to pronounce it because I was saying show. Sam knows that.
Yes.
I did that on here. I did that a couple of weeks ago, and I was like,
I don't know what you're talking. I think you always said Chuck.
Hey, that's a good co-host.
I think you were the first one to actually pronounce it that way.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. You were first in line. You were the first to the punch.
It was me. It was always me. All right, let's see what I got going on here. All right, so I'm thinking about adding even more offense here because I'm like doing the makeover here. But I want to see what's going on on the defensive line and the corner position just because I like that. Gelati is really interesting to me. I think he's one of the bigger guys, but I still think that 20.9%, that pass rush run rate is right where I want it to be.
Yeah.
Although I love David Walker in the fourth. We'll see what happens. We'll gamble there. Let's see what I've got. Do I've got? Oh, well, would you just look at that?
Would you look at it?
And then nobody gets you guys might get that reference, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, what's that? That's that incredibly obscure Vine reference that I make probably every day. Won't you look at that?
Would you just look at it?
RJ Harvey, like, he's going to run in, like, I always make this joke. I'm like, oh, he doesn't have the 4.3 speed, but he's got 4.4 speed, and he gets there so quickly. I just love the patience and just sometimes he gets a little too patient and you're like, go, go, please. And that kind of happens from time to time, but I think he really fits in well in this offensive scheme. And if you're making over this offense and you're putting stuff around Shedeur Sanders to make him the most successful. I think getting him a wide receiver interior wherever Bo plays, and then an explosive running back that can hit big plays to take some pressure off the passing offense. That's kind of the way I would do it if I went down that route of taking Shedeur. All right. Back to you, Mr. Sam.
All right. Well, the board fell exactly how I wanted it to. Anthony Belton still on the board, and I'm going to go with him because I think he is one of the more underrated offensive tackle prospects in this class, and I think he has all the makings of a very good professional player. And I don't think you have to start him right away, especially because we already took Donovan Jackson earlier. So whether he ends up on the left side or the right side, I think he's going to be a good one, and I'm very happy to get him here at the top of the fourth.
I flirted with taking him in the 60s of this week's written mock.
Yeah.
And then I was like, with the age, they may wait before they go because he's a little bit older, so they may want to wait on taking him a little bit. But at 103, I think that's a point where you're just kind of like, yeah, there's take him along. Well, I will send it to you, Bill.
Yeah, so I am going to get a pass catcher. Probably doesn't necessarily fit the age guardrails, but when you have a guy who has 104 catches, almost 1,400 yards, and 16 touchdowns in one season, and he's a wide receiver prospect that's a recently converted quarterback, so he's still learning the position. When you're sitting here at pick 165, you take a dart throw, and I'm going Nick Nash, the wide receiver from San Jose State. Like I said, converted quarterback, still learning the position, still growing into it. He's a little bit of an older prospect, so he's probably not going to fit the age guardrails. But when you look at it, little bit over a 5% drop rate in his career. So yes, he's got some issues with that. But my favorite part, missed tackles for this guy, 29 missed tackles forced. Mm-hmm. You can't catch him. There's a reason he put up almost 1,400 yards because he makes people miss. And that's what this offense needs next to Jerry Jeudy is someone who can make people miss. And Nick Nash is going to be that favorite target of either Tyler Shuck or the veteran, whoever wins the competition that we're going to have here in my mock.
He's a favorite of mine to play around with. Where can I get him? You know what I mean? Like you play that game when you're doing all these mock simulations, and like I do a written mock on the OBR.com every Monday. I'm at this point, I've done like 6 or 7 Mondays in a row. So like it's all blurring together, but like, he's that guy that you're like, does he make it to 150? You know, like you're just kind of like, where do can I get away with taking a different position and Nick Nash being there late? You know, like yes. You're kind of like, can I play that game? And so I'm with you on that one. All right. What do I got going on? Did I lose? I did not lose David Walker. Would you look at that?
David, look at it.
Just look at the sack production. I know it's not a division. I know it's Central Arkansas, but you just look at that production and you just look at the fact that my thing is, I always say this, if you are going to take a small school guy, he had better be dominant at that school because there's going to be such a big jump. Look at what David Walker did to that level of competition. And there was a rumor that he didn't transfer to a bigger school because he was all about the state of Arkansas and that playing for somewhere in Arkansas. And so he wasn't going to transfer out of Arkansas. I heard something about that floating out there. And so like that had something to do with it. I'm not sure how true that is, but I heard it out there in the ethos. It was on the internet, so it had to be true.
Right.
But he fits it. 6'2", 260 size. He's got the size. He's got the power. I think he can convert speed to power as a pass rusher. And I think he's a really fun, like, hey, at 102, you got a guy that was incredibly productive. He'll need a little bit of time to be brought along, but he's part of the reason I think this is such a deep defensive line class, you can get a guy like that with that kind of production and upside this late. You can get outside of the top 100 and get a guy like that, and I think that's very telling of this class. All right, Mr. Sam, we are just moving. We're just cruising right along here.
Yeah, this is uncharted territory for me. Who are these guys? DJ Giddens, I think, is really good value here. Not the most explosive, fast guy, but I think he's a player who you can include in your two-headed monster at running back in your backfield and be very happy. Very productive at Kansas State. I think at 165 here in the 5th round, you're pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, Mr. Bill.
Yeah, so I am going to go with, I'm going to probably butcher his name. It's an edge rusher from Boise State, Ahmed Hassanain. Ahmed H is what we're going to go with here. I mean, 10 sacks, 17 hits, 35 hurries, very productive, 6'3", 271. Sitting here, pick 194. I'm looking for a little bit of a production, but also a little bit of a projection. Reminds me a lot of Trey Flowers when he played with the Patriots. That same guy had a very good motor, very solid. He wasn't going to give you, double-digit sacks, and you don't need him to do that, although I believe Ahmed could do that. He did it in his final year at Boise State, but here at 194, I'm going to go with Ahmed Hassanain from Boise State.
You guys thought I wasn't taking anybody from Ohio State tonight, didn't you? That's what you guys
thought we were going to get away with it.
Like hell we are. Right here in that sweet zone, once thought of as the top corner in the class. At some point, I think in preseason, people had Denzel Burke up there as potentially the best corner in this class. It was a bit of a roller coaster year for Denzel Burke. He was at his best in zone coverage. I know that's not what the Browns like to do, but he has shown the ability to be a very good corner at times. The athleticism's there, the size is there. What did they have him listed at? 6'1". Yeah, that's probably right. But I don't know. I look at Denzel Burke. I see a guy that has upside, has done some of that stuff at a high level, had a little bit of a roller coaster. But I thought he gets picked on against Oregon in that first game against Oregon. And I thought he really bounced back after that. I thought that he had some good games there towards down the stretch. I thought he played pretty well at times in the college football playoff. It's just a guy I think it's got talent, could really fight for a roster spot. And yeah.
I think that's just a homer pick. There's no other way to say it.
You know what? It's like I'm always trying to find one way. I try really, really hard to not pick an Ohio State guy because he's an Ohio State guy. So when there is an Ohio State guy that lines up, I get really excited. I'm like, oh yeah, I could justify this, and it would be legit.
I can deny the homer accusations on this one.
No,
right. It was just best player available at that point.
Yeah, of course.
A little bit of a reach. All right, Sam.
All right. Again, I don't know how realistic it is, but Malachi Moore here at 181, I think, is a really nice fit. Just a versatile, cerebral player who doesn't have the ideal physical characteristics that you might be looking for from a guy way earlier in the draft. But here, I think it makes perfect sense, and I think he can step right into a role at different spots in the secondary from day one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Malachi Moore. I love those. I love those plays all over the field kind of safeties or defensive backs, however you want to put it. All right, Bill.
Yeah, so let me throw some numbers at you here for my next pick. So 6'7" and 5/8 inches, 341 pounds, 10 1/4 inch hands, 34.5-inch arms. You hear all that and you probably think, holy cow, who is this mountain of a man? It's Jalen Travis, the offensive tackle from Iowa State. Very good quickness coming out of his burst, beats rushers to the spot, has the giddy up and burst to beat blitzers coming around the corner, times his snap very well. Obviously, when you're 6'7", you play more upright. It's a little bit harder, but I'm here at pick 202, and I want some development offensive tackles to either develop or challenge DeJuan Jones and Jack Conklin. Should I bring them both back or I go in free agency? But when I have a guy of that size, that arm length, that hands, you can't teach that. I'll teach him football. I can't teach 341 pounds and 34.5-inch arms.
He's a Princeton transfer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Princeton transferred to Iowa State.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, it's a shoe-in.
I'm wondering why. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm wondering why he isn't being talked about more, because there is that physical skill set, and he graded out very well as a pass protector this past season at PFF. So there was not a drop off in play going from Princeton to Iowa State.
No.
If I wait this long to take a tight end, I'm probably starting to lean towards finding a tight end that can block. And Jalen Conyers from Texas Tech can block. He can block his butt off. What was that?
I distinctly remember you and I were on a pod a few weeks back where we talked about Jalen Conyers from Texas Tech.
Oh, we did, yes.
And his amazing size and how we thought he was an athletic nightmare. And he still is 6'4", 265.
65. I forgot that too. Yes. I remember the conversation. Dude, you know how it is. All these draft shows, they run together for me. But oh my God. Yes, please. 6th round blocking tight end. Got it. Check. All right. Back to you, Sam.
This is a interesting spot. I would take Mello Dotson, but I don't think that's very realistic, because that's a 50-point delta between his consensus rank and where he is now. So we're gonna pass on that one. I am intrigued by Kyle Monangai at this point. And I think his play style, where he's just going to run right into your face as hard as he possibly can, I think that's a skill set the Browns don't have right now. And I think that's a good compliment with Giddens here, adding that to the backfield. That's a guy I trust inside the 5-yard line. So I'm all for taking Monangai here.
Yeah, I like Kyle.
Great, like RB aesthetic too. Like that's a positive in his draft stock. So
yeah,
take all the positives we can get. All right, over to you, Bill.
Yeah, so if you thought I was done picking beef in the offensive line room, you would be sorely mistaken, because now I'm going 6'6" 7/8, 314 pounds, 10 1/8-inch hands, 35 1/8-inch arms, and 83 3/4 wingspan. I'm going to an HBCU, guys. We're going Carson Vinson, the offensive tackle out of Alabama A&M. Capable in the run blocking, very good in pass protection. Obviously, you have concerns about him in level of competition, obviously going from an HBCU to the NFL. But there's players that have done it. And again, like I said with Jalen Travis, I'm saying it again with Carson Vinson. You cannot teach this man's size. And he has a good foundation and fundamentals to be, at a minimum, a backup tackle and could compete for a starting job if DeJuan or Jack miss time. So Carson Vinson here at pick 206.
Remember on a show that we did, you're like, I'm surprised more people don't get broken ribs from playing this guy because his hands are just so violent. And that's one of those lines that just sticks in your head. Every time I see his name, I just hear you saying he breaks people's ribs. And I'm like,
he does. His hand punch breaks people's ribs. And I remember the joke that you made that it still sticks with me, of course. And the reasoning, Jacob, do you remember the reasoning why he couldn't put his hands in his pockets when he was down in Mobile?
Yeah, did you know about that, Sam?
I have not heard this story.
Yeah, so legally speaking, he's not allowed to put his hands in his pockets because that's concealing a deadly weapon.
Ha ha ha.
That's a good one. You guys come up with that with yourself?
No, I stole that. I don't remember where, but I stole it. I'm not that funny. I'm
It's a
not.
perfect setup. It's a perfect segue.
Oh, don't you boo me. No, that's fair, boo me. Okay, so there's really no reason Jack Nelson should be hanging around right here. The left tackle from Wisconsin. But if he is, this is a 6'7" dude that like he doesn't move like this giant lumbering guy that he kind of is in a sense. Like he's very nimble of his foot. Like you look when you look at his grades from PFF and you just see like he doesn't grade well as a gap run blocker, but he grades really well as a zone blocker, you know, and it's just he's what 6'7", 316, bigger, strong guy. I like Jack Nelson a lot. If he falls, I would have taken him at 178 too. I just didn't realize it, but him here at 191, I think that would just be like icing on the tip on the top of the frosting icing. I don't know what it goes on cakes.
That's a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
Both of them. Yeah, we got both of them. All right, Sam, you're in uncharted territory. You're in the 200s.
Yeah, this is interesting is the word. So Kobe King is a very, for lack of a better term, interesting prospect because he doesn't fit the mold of a modern NFL linebacker. He's listed at 6'1", 248. Like the guy is dense. He is a throwback Mike linebacker inside the box, stack and shed, just blow the guard up and make the tackle. Love that. I don't know how highly that's going to be valued because you don't really see that kind of a player anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Very limited, I think, athletically and in coverage. That's really he struggles. And that's probably why he gets pushed down here into the 200s. But I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders. He sees the game, reacts very quickly. And I think that kind of a skill set where you have an elite trait here, even if it's maybe not the most valuable, I think you can work with that in this linebacker group, regardless of the health status of anyone else. And then maybe he can be a factor on special teams too. But I just think like really, really fun player, especially if you're someone who grew up watching the late 90s, early 2000s, just thumpers at linebacker. I think he's a throwback player.
All right. I like it. I like that. I like it. All right, Bill.
So here at pick 216, I toyed around with this idea of going power running all day long. And I was coming back through my Mobile tape, and there's one guy, his size guardrails probably will not fit in Cleveland, but when you're here at 216, you can kind of let go of the wheels a little bit. We're going to get us a fullback here, folks. That's going to be a backup guard. 5'10", 270 pounds, 32-inch arms. We're going Willie Lampkin, the backup guard from North Carolina.
Love it.
And he can either be a backup guard, a backup center, or if you want to put him as a fullback and run some power eye down people's throats, we can do that too. We can have our own version of the tush push here on the lake. Let's do it. Let's run it. Give me Willie Lampkin here.
So such a fun player. He's great. Watch him go toe to toe with Deion Walker. Just a complete juxtaposition of size and physical ability, but he's winning the battle just because he's got that dog in him.
He's the ultimate leverage player. Like he will get lower than you. Like he is going to.
He already is.
Yeah, he's already down there. So I was scrolling through here and I was like, oh, what's that? A power back. Oh man. what about doubling up on running back? Um, I got my speedy guy, my big play, my bursty guy, the dynamic RJ Harvey, and then I get Taj Brooks, who's just looking to hurt people. There's really no other analysis to that pick. He just wants to hurt you. That's just what he's doing.
I'm sold.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. All right, Sam.
There's a lot of guys that I can't in good conscience take because I know there's no shot they're going to be there. Jake Majors is an interesting player, and with the uncertainty surrounding the center position, both your starter Ethan Posich and the health status of Luke Whippler, I think you would benefit from taking a guy like Majors who has a lot of experience, a lot of good play at center. Maybe he could work out as at guard as well. Again, don't know if he's going to be here at 216, but I think that's a later day 3, round 6. I think Majors would be a very good pick for this team.
All right.
And I'm right back on the board.
Yeah, no, it's those back-to-backs. All right, Bill.
So I'm gonna go defensive tackle here, and it's surprise, I'm going back to the Ivy League. Although he didn't play at the Ivy League this year, he played in the ACC. Has reportedly benched 225 pounds 45 times by his Ivy League coaches. A 4.57 shuttle time. His Ivy League coaches called him, quote unquote, unblockable. And you see it on tape when he was at Louisville as well, folks. We're going Thor Griffith, the defensive tackle from Louisville here. Just a versatile guy, can play anywhere inside that defensive line. Reminds me a lot of Michael Brockers when he was at LSU, with significantly more power. And in the all-world name team, if I can get a defensive tackle that shares the name with the God of Thunder that can bench 45 times, I'm going to take it here at pick 217.
With that name, he better bench 225 for 45. Question about how many running backs are they going to carry without getting rid of Nick Chubb? I could realistically see them back to carrying 4.
Yeah.
I very realistically see that.
Yeah.
Which would mean 3 plus Nick Chubb, theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in this class, you can double up on it with just how deep it actually goes. And, I've looked at the 2026 class as well, getting ready for next year. And I would not be shocked if teams don't double up this year because of how shallow it looks next year. I mean, next year it's the Jeremiah Love show plus 3 other folks. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them double up this year.
Ooh, Aubrey Burks is interesting. The safety from West Virginia. As you can see, didn't play a ton this year, but you've seen some slot, some in the box, mostly out deep, but just as a versatile guy. They've moved him around, done a bunch of different things with him, had some injury issues this year, so probably falls to you. But I think a versatile guy like that in this late in the 6th round, I think could be in play there. All right, Sam.
Well, speaking of carrying 4 running backs, I think you could potentially see them back to carrying 4 tight ends. And I know we already got a pass catcher in Colston Loveland, and now I think we go back to the tight end class and find a bigger-bodied inline blocker. And I think Mitchell Evans can be that guy, and I think he also gives you the potential to have some pass-catching ability as well. I thought he had a good college football playoff. He looked good against Ohio State as well. It's not there yet, but the physical traits are there, and I can see a projection to where he is able to be an effective all-around tight end at the next level. And at 217, I'm willing to take that chance on a guy with his physical traits.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, Bill, we're back to you. Is this your last pick, Bill?
It is. Okay. So with my final pick, I'm going to go back to the HBCUs and I'm going to go with a safety prospect that is a little bit underrated in the scouting community, but folks like me, who grind tape, I've watched, graded, and comped over 450 players. I've gotten my fill of watching this player during his time at Howard. Very athletic safety, very good in zone coverage, good instincts. This guy knows where the ball's going to go before it goes there. Probably starts his career on special teams and in a rotation in the safety, but could eventually be that starting safety next to Grant Delpit. It's Kenny Gallup Jr., the safety from Howard, here at the end of the draft. And I think if you get him here, I've got a 4th round grade on him. So to get him almost 3 rounds later is excellent value, and I'll take that every time.
I haven't gone defensive line yet, or defensive tackle. I like Ty Robinson. I think got some pass rush upside. I think he had a 10% pass rush win rate for Nebraska in the interior. Just some upside there, pretty decent as a run defender as well. So I'll dip into that water, and I will send it to Sam for Sam's last pick, and then I'll make my last pick, and then we'll quickly recap and get us out of here.
All right, Mr. Irrelevant. Keandre Lambert-Smith, Penn State transfer. These Penn State receivers, there's always just something. You watch these guys play, and you're just like, he's got something. I don't necessarily see it on a consistent basis. Some of that's due to quarterback play. Some of that's due to scheme. Transferred to Auburn. Didn't take that next step. But there's talent there. And I think at this point in the draft, you're taking a dart throw on guys who either have a high-level skill or trait, or you've seen it on tape before at some point. And I've seen it on tape with Lambert-Smith. So I'm willing to take him here with the last pick in the draft and see if he can fight his way out of the practice squad.
Love it.
So for what Sam's using NFL Mock Draft Database, their big board they're the consensus big board. So they take all the other big boards and they put them together and they make a consensus one. So it often is way different than other ones because you're getting personal rankings. And in this one, this is a combination of a bunch of different personal rankings. And that's why I like to use it quite a bit just for written mocks, because it kind of brings all of those in. Sometimes I like PFF, but it just depends. So that's why you'll get some differences there. Okay. And my last pick is going to be Aaron Smith, the linebacker from South Carolina State. I think he's a pretty good run defender, kind of does a lot of roaming sideline to sideline. Can do some things as a coverage guy, but I think he could also be a really nice special teamer. Hey, see ball, hit ball. He does that. So I will first give it to Sam so Sam can recap his draft.
So we moved around a little bit earlier on, ended up adding a 3rd rounder and a 4th rounder and a 6th rounder next season. So our class for 2025 ends up being Cam Ward at 2, quarterback from Miami. Then at 36, we got Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan. Traded up to 49 to snag Donovan Jackson, the offensive lineman from Ohio State. Then at 88, we landed Omar Norman Lott, the defensive tackle from Tennessee. At 103 at the top of the 4th round, Anthony Belton, the tackle from North Carolina State. 165, running back DJ Giddens from Kansas State. 181 was Malachi Moore, the safety from Alabama. 194 was Kyle Monangai, the running back from Rutgers. And then 202, Kobe King, linebacker, Penn State. 216, Jake Majors, interior offensive lineman from Texas. 217, Mitchell Evans, tight end from Notre Dame. And Mr. Irrelevant, 257, wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith from Auburn.
Guys, after you're done in the comments, in the chat and things like that, tell us who you think had the best mock draft. So I meant to say that. So it won't be me. We know that. All right, Bill, you are on the clock. You're on the clock to recap the times that we're on the clock.
Yeah, so we started off at number 2 going Travis Hunter, the cornerback, full-time wide receiver, sometime prospect from Colorado, traded down to take Jihad Campbell at linebacker from Alabama at 43, and then traded back up for pick 68 to go back-to-back and taking Caleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa, and Gunnar Helm, the tight end from Texas. Pick 94, we go with a signal caller, Tyler Shuck, quarterback from Louisville. Pick 165, Nick Nash, the productive wide receiver from San Jose State. Pick 194, Ahmed Hassanein from Boise State. Learned that pronunciation off screen a few minutes ago, so that's what we're going to go with. Pick 202 and 206, we got 2 human mountains in Jalen Travis from Iowa State and Carson Vinson, the offensive tackle from Alabama A&M. We go with Willie Lampkin, the North Carolina. They have him listed as a guard, but I could see him as a fullback, a center. Just a Willie Lampkin is going to be his position.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go Thor Griffith, the defensive tackle from Louisville, one of the strongest defensive tackles in this class. And then we wrap it up at pick 257 with Kenny Gallup Jr., the safety from Howard.
Look at this. They gave me an F for Shadur Sanders. That's just like, I'm low on Shadur Sanders, but I would never give it that. I'm not that low on Shadur Sanders.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is how I would build the team around Shadur Sanders. Elikai Omanor, the size speed wide receiver from Stanford. Marcus Bowe, who I think is a guard, maybe a center. Just depends on where you want to do. Really athletic player from Purdue. RJ Harvey, the explosive running back from UCF at 94. David Walker, the size, speed, power pass rusher from Central Arkansas. The homer pick of the night, Denzel Burke, the cornerback from Ohio State at 164. Jalen Conyers, the freaky blocking tight end out of Texas Tech. Jack Nelson, the left tackle from Wisconsin. Taj Brooks, my power back, and pick 199 out of Texas Tech. Aubrey Burks, the kind of versatile safety from West Virginia. Ty Robinson, the defensive tackle from Nebraska. And Aaron Smith, the linebacker from South Carolina State. I got a B-, which feels pretty good because I started with an F. And that is how we that's how we wrap it up. So, Bill, real quick, before we wrap this up, thank you so much for joining us. Let everybody know where they can find all your stuff.
Yeah, so you can find all my stuff over on X at Sparks Scouting. I also am a writer and an analyst for the Right Way Sports Network. TWSN.net is where you can find all of my content. My pre-combine positional rankings are dropping this week and next, so go check those out. As well as I will be at the NFL Combine Thursday and Friday. So if you're out and about in Indianapolis, come say hi to me. Let's talk some shop and let's talk some ball. But I appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
Well, guys, that is another show in the books. We'll be back again next Monday. Thanks for everybody that tuned in. The OBR was live for well over 2 hours straight after Jeff Lloyd was live from 6 to 6:30. So lots of great 2.5 hours worth of content from us tonight. More great content tomorrow. It's Tuesday, which means it's the React with Pete Smith and Brad Ward tomorrow. So you will not want to miss that. That's one of my favorite shows that I watch every week because they do all the legwork. They go and they find all these videos and all these clips and all these things about the Browns and they play them for you and then they react to it. And I love it because they do all the legwork for me. I sent Brad a text last summer saying that. I was like, dude, I love it because sometimes I don't have time to find all that stuff, but they bring it all to you. And I think it's a really unique show. So make sure you guys check that out and everything else that's going on this week. And make sure you go over to the OBR.com mock draft every day, Monday through Saturday. Tetaroa McMillan draft profile up tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys again next time. As always, go Browns.